Now, the commercial banking industry has undergone some major changes over the past years. Talk about revolutions. The effects of those changes having on borrowers? Let's find out more. My next guest can give us the details. We have Walter Owens. He is the head of commercial banking at TD Bank. Walter, it's great to have you with us on Bloomberg. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's great to be here.
So tell us at least what TD Bank's profile is as far as commercial banking is in the United States. We know that they are here because of the acquisition of Commerce Bank.
Right.
That really changed the profile of TD Bank in the Northeast. What's going on with commercial banking?
So if you take a look at TD Bank from a commercial banking perspective, we're a full-service commercial bank from Maine to Florida, and we service all segments, small business, medium-sized businesses, all the way up to large corporate borrowers.
And what kinds of things, such as services, have you introduced? Because we know that there are many banks looking at the competition. There are a lot of places you can go. What distinguishes TD Bank?
I think when you take a look at what is our value proposition and quite frankly, what our competitive advantage is, it's really our ability to bring the entire bank to a customer. So while others will talk about broad product offerings, scale, size, quite frankly, the banking business, especially on the commercial side, is a local business. And we're capable of bringing a relationship with a seasoned banker who's a decision maker right to a customer's doorstep. And that's really what customers want.
Now, you've survived a liquidity crisis, as many banks have. What has changed in the relationship between the bank and the borrower? Is money available, or is it a situation where there just doesn't seem to be a huge demand to borrow money?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. So if you take a look at the last 3 years, the first 18 months were very much that there was a supply of credit issue. As banks drew in, TD Bank, in the situation that we were in, were very aggressive in acquiring customers during that period. As you take a look at the last 18 months, it's without a doubt, from my perspective, a demand-driven issue. There just is not the demand for loans that we would have all expected this far into a recovery.
What about refinancings? Because we know that small and mid-sized businesses, they've got credit lines, they've got short-term paper that maybe they've got to roll over. What have they been doing with TD Bank to take advantage of what are pretty historically low rates?
Yeah, you could see every borrower, whether they're a small business borrower all the way up to large corporates today, are taking advantage of a robust market. So when you were to take a look a couple of years ago, people were doing transactions that were forced into higher rate deals, very conservative structures. And today, quite frankly, with the supply of credit on the street, they're refinancing. And we're seeing people take advantage, both in terms of a price, but you're also seeing better structures from a borrower perspective. And in fact, in the large corporate market, whoever thought you would hear the words Covenantlite again, it's back. And customers
We're
are
back to
demanding it.
Covenantlite. I mean, because that has also been described as one of the reasons why we didn't see a huge wave of defaults, because it was basically impossible to default on a Covenantlite situation.
It's a very interesting time in commercial banking. In terms of Covenantlite, you have to really look at two things. One is, who are the companies that got those transactions? I think more importantly, how did they perform through one of the worst recessions? If you think about a liquidity crisis turned into a recession, some of these companies have performed incredibly well. So I think the commercial banking community right now is truly trying to figure out, are these deals still very creditworthy? Did they survive a very tough period of time and come out the opposite end and turn out to be the right deal for certain companies? Or is it just too aggressive? My view is things are still conservative, albeit they're a little bit more aggressive than they were a year ago. By historical standards, structures and price are still good if you're in the commercial banking business.
Are you seeing conservatism also on the side of the borrower? Are borrowers keeping more cash on hand? I mean, we've heard, at least from large corporations, that there is, quote, a lot of cash on the balance sheet. Is it because they're still concerned, they still remember that liquidity crisis, and they do not want to get caught short again?
Yeah, I think if you were to look at where are we in the cycle, it's one of the most frustrating points if you're in the commercial banking business, because there's $1.2 trillion of cash on corporate balance sheets. So even though the business climate's better, even though we're seeing business investment, we're still not seeing people utilizing the lines that they have outstanding, and quite frankly, a lot of it is that excess cash on balance sheets.
Have you found that the banking industry has been pulling some of those credit lines because they're unused? They're saying, look, if you don't use it, we're not going to extend it to you.
You know, that's very interesting. While, in fact, there is capital associated with lines, what I'm finding in today's competitive marketplace, everybody has a budget. Everybody needs to make certain levels of loans and net interest income. And what we're finding is banks want to put money to work. So, no, I don't see a huge pullback in credit from a line perspective.
You see any difference in the health of different regions, at least along the eastern coast of the United States?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you were to look at the great performance that we've had as a bank, one big factor is, quite frankly, we're a mid-Atlantic and Northeast bank, and that's made a huge difference. Southeast banks, Southwest banks, it's a different story.
All right, I want to thank you very much. Walter Owens coming to us as the head of commercial banking for TD Bank. Thanks very much for your insights. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here.